I would like to share exactly why I am driving and talking at the same time into my phone while it's filming me. Some of my close friends have expressed concern over me multitasking. Obviously, it's not safe driving and doing something else. I am focused on the roads, just you guys know. I am looking over to the camera every once in a while, but my eyes are fixed on the road and I'm paying attention to what's happening all around me while I'm driving. The only thing that's different, I think, than what I used to do anyway when I'm driving by myself is I'm just carrying out the conversation out loud that typically happens in my head. I don't know about you guys, but most of us, including myself, I think we think as we drive. We reflect on things. We think about things that we want to do, think about things that happen. So it's very natural to actually think inside of our heads as we're driving. Because for most of us who's been driving for a while, driving is a secondary, right? Muscle memory. We know where we're going, especially on familiar roads or on commutes. But we're nonetheless, part of our brain is focused on the driving itself, the activity, but also I think part of our brain wanders off to different thoughts and feelings. So the only thing I'm doing different by doing this out loud into my phone and the camera is that I'm thinking out loud so that I can capture these authentic shit show that's going on in my head with all of you out there. So this is a place that I feel most comfortable in sharing my thoughts out loud. I tried it in a chair. I tried it in the office. I haven't tried walking yet, but I'm going to try that next. But one, I hate being in front of camera. I absolutely am uncomfortable. I'm much better in person with people. I draw energy from people, whether it's one-to-one conversation or one-to-many conversation. I'm much better at that than this. So it's taken me a while to get used to this and really push myself outside of my comfort zone to find the most effective venue and effective channel for me to actually do this. Because I'm hearing from my students and clients and friends that the messages that I'm sharing on these things, what little I did so far, they do find them to be valuable and relevant. So the last push came from a good friend named Trisha, who said that she seen me do this in the car, which came across much more natural and authentic than the ones I've done where I force myself to sit down in front of the camera. And she's right. So I'm practicing that today. I hope you're watching, Trisha. But I also wanted to share my reasoning behind why I'm choosing to do this behind the wheels and how I am practicing care and caution as I do this so that I'm not putting myself in danger or anyone else in danger. I don't like to do this while I'm driving on a highway at a high speed. I'm doing this mostly doing the local driving on familiar roads. I certainly wouldn't do this when I'm trying to figure out where I'm going using the Google map or anything like that. So just wanted to share that with you. I also think there's something about talking while I'm driving in the driver's seat, because one of the things that I talk about in my class or in my programs is the oftentimes the determined, inspired, motivated individuals, how we describe ourselves as driven. And when we do the exercise of the one word that represents us as a personal brand, driven is one of the top 5 attributes that people are associated with. Certainly my own wife chose that word for me, driven. But if you actually look at the dictionary definition of driven, it's passive in nature, right? You're not driving. You're not in the driver's seat. If you're driven, you wouldn't be sitting over here driving. You'll be over here in the passenger seat being driven by somebody else. So the word driven is not as complimentary, definitely not as positive as we all think it may be. Being driven means you're driven by something else or someone else, unless you figure out what it is that you're driving towards. Then, and only then, you're driven by what you define to be important and success for you. Then you wouldn't use the word driven, you would use the word driving. I am driving towards that, not I'm driven by. We wouldn't use a passive term to describe that. We would use an active first person term like drive to describe that process. So I think there is something to be said about talking while in the driver's seat. It's kind of cheesy, I get it. But I think there's something meaningful behind the idea of me sharing my struggles, my journey and my experience and what I'm trying to accomplish while I'm driving in the driver's seat. Because ultimately that's where we all want to get to lead our lives from the driver's seat, not from the passenger seat, being driven by something else or someone else. Thank you for listening, and I hope as you watch these videos, there's a reason and some type of rationale behind me talking while I'm driving in the driver's seat. Thank you.